Welcome back to Quiet in the Halls, episode 6. On the last podcast, we had Mr. Mac, who was a great episode. We talked a lot about finance and entrepreneurship and a lot about economics. But today, I have Malik Amine, a Big Ten sports commentator and ex wrestling alumni at Michigan. So please welcome Malik Amine.
Good to be on here, Mitchie.
What's up, man? Thanks for hopping on, bro. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's been a blessing. It's weird. I come to this school and it looks like a university. I
Yeah,
haven't been back here in a minute, man.
it's been a while for you. It's been a while. Great to have you on. For my first question to start off, really easy one is why'd you hop on?
I know your brother. I guess that's the biggest. No, honestly, I love podcasts. I think they're a great way to express not just express your thoughts, but I think with interviewing people, it's a different type of format that I'm used to. Obviously, doing the Big Ten Network stuff, a little more formatted. I know this is too, but you get a little more personality than you do on air, and I think I've always appreciated that. Obviously, I had a podcast with my cousin like a couple years ago, and I really enjoy doing it. I love conversation, and it's a little more unstructured, and I feel like you get a little more authenticity versus on television where you have a script and you kind of gotta stay within the bounds.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you again. So for I guess my real first question is, what was it like growing up for you? Like, can you tell us about your family life?
Yeah, so I grew up in Brighton. Actually, I grew up in Heartland for a few years, and then moved to Brighton when I got into elementary school. I still remember a lot of Heartland. I still have friends in Heartland. I always like to say somewhat of a Heartland Eagle at heart. But we grew up in Brighton. Obviously, my brother Miles and an older sister Marissa. My dad was a immigrant from Lebanon. My mom came from a hardworking, blue collar family that sold tile. That is on our San Marino side, San Rene's side. So there really was no, I'd say like just coming to CC was a little bit of a different vibe, just because we were a little more blue collar, kind of you're not getting extra money to go out and spend, and there was no allowance, and you work with your hands, and it was just kind of different coming out here because it's a little bit of a different vibe. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's the first time I really saw money. Let's just say put it that way. We did grow up in Brighton. We grew up in a nice neighborhood, but I was driving a beat up Honda Civic, and all of a sudden I saw a brand new Raptor pull up to me, so that was new to me. But that's besides the point. But yeah, growing up was fun. I had a bunch of cousins, brother Miles, who we always used to wrestle in the living room, and my cousins would come over. We'd destroy the house. I had a lot of memories growing up in my Brighton house, and my cousins lived right down the street from me. My neighbors were the Kakicks, who also went to CC. David Wright. I had a lot of actually close friends that I'm going to CC as well. So I grew up in a pretty good community of people. It's not like I was being shipped off to somewhere I didn't know or who anybody was. I had a good, solid core group of friends when I came here.
That's good. That's really good. So I know wrestling's your main bread and butter, but was there any other sports besides wrestling that you're interested in?
Yeah, I played football for a long time, actually. I played football up until eighth grade, and it was honestly, football is one of my favorite sports, just because um, it was, I'd say, the best way to put it. It let me kind of understand more my appreciation for wrestling, because with wrestling there really was no decision making skills on the coaching side, of where you might be a better player but you're not going to play because the coach thinks that this person's better. So in wrestling, if you beat the guy outright, there's really no question, right? You're the better wrestler. But in football, I did appreciate, honestly, the fact of that you were on a team and it was more coordinated, and it was the last time that I've ever happened, or that's ever happened, because wrestling is just one on one. You don't really have, if you're a corner, right, you're calling out, the linebacker saying, hey, you need to make sure you press coverage, or the wide receiver is trying to do something and you're trying to read his route. And I played corner for a bunch of years. And obviously it's youth, and the level is not that where it is in high school and college, but I did love football. It was my second love. And actually kind of funny, we're trying to put together a flag football team for the Olympics for San Marino. So we'll see how that goes.
Right now, currently?
Yeah, currently
What,
in
what
the
sparked
works.
that?
Honestly, I thought about it. We did the whole wrestling thing for San Marino, and it was obviously the sport that we did, so it was a little more successful. But it's you look at it, it's, you have one life, you might as well try it. We have full backing by the federation. So I shot the text to the federation, like, hey, this sounds like a really cool idea. I see a couple of small countries doing it. Why can't we try this? He goes, yeah, you have full capability of doing so. I don't know anything about. He said, I don't know anything about football. You can do it. So it's like, yeah, I played football for 8-9 years. I think I know a little bit, but we'll try together and put together a team. Joe Fanning, who was a graduate here, who's a quarterback, and he graduated in 2015. He's going to be the coach. So we'll see where it goes.
Who do you compete against?
Dude, good teams. So a bunch of wash-ups that played football a long time ago are trying to take on, teams that have been doing it for a while. We'll see. I don't really know the competition. It's a lot different, right? For wrestling, obviously Miles and I were both high-level wrestlers. So it's, going to the Olympic field. Yeah, it's tough, but we wrestled in college, wrestled at Michigan. He was multiple-time All-American. I qualified for NCAAs and won medals internationally. So it's a little bit different jumping in to that versus hey, I haven't played football in 10 years. Let me see if I can compete against, Patrick Mahomes, who might be playing for the United States. It's more of just a cool idea, man. It's,
sounds fun.
If you can do it, why not? They tried to get us to do bobsled a long time ago. And I was like, Winter Olympics, doing bobsled, getting hurt, probably not the best idea.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little more manageable. So we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah, no, that's fun. Right.
It's new information.
Wait, what's the age for tryouts?
I don't know. We're trying to figure that out. So we got we have a tryout deal. We're like, okay, you have to hit these for parameters. You've had to play football. You have to. There's no excuse on that.
I can't join.
No. Well, you have to be San Bernese, so you have to have San Bernese citizenship.
I see.
You kidding me, man? I would be calling JJ McCarthy if that was the case. But or the people I went to at Michigan. But it's you have to be San Bernese. You have to play football, and you have to be somewhat still athletic. So we haven't really seen the turnout. Like two of my cousins, the Callahans, who played college lacrosse, they're interested, and they're actually still in good shape and good athletes. So you have me, Miles, the Callahans. That's 4. We only need one more person, and then we're good. It's 5v5. So we got to try to find that 5th person and maybe a couple people to circle in when people get tired.
Dude, good luck, bro. I'll definitely be watching if it happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
That sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's not a shot out of a cannon. It was an idea that came to my head when I was driving. I was like, hey, can we actually do this?
For wrestling specifically, besides your family and wrestling being such a heavy impact on you, why did you really fall in love with wrestling?
That's actually a tough question because it's almost like a love-hate relationship. If anybody says they just straight up love wrestling, either they're at Penn State and they're being coached to do so because they win, or it's it takes time to love the sport because it's grueling when you lose. It's not fun. It sucks. A lot of the times it's not a, I would dark place isn't the right word, but it's not a great day. I've had those days where it's unfortunate. I had them here. I've had them at Michigan. I've had them internationally. And it's it's like, why am I doing this? But I think that the lessons that you learn in wrestling are and you can't appreciate that until you're after you're done. Because I think a lot of people see the end in sight and they're happy that it ends. And then they go back and they appreciate. It was never about the wins and losses. It was never about the medals. It was more about, the camaraderie with your teammates, being in that environment, being the man in the arena. So I never really fell in love with wrestling until after I wrestled. And I didn't really gain an appreciation for it until after I wrestled because I was like, wow, go look at back in my career. It started, 2007 when I started with Brighton Wrestling Club or Heartland Wrestling Club and ended in 2022 in Turkey when I didn't qualify for the Olympics. So it was a long career. And I started to appreciate it actually more as I grew up because I understood what it was to be a wrestler. It was not really my identity. It's just something I did.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the times guys conflate wrestling with who they are and they kind of end up lost after they're done because it's the only thing they've done for 20 years. So I think the love for it came after. It wasn't really during. And I think the appreciation was just, I put so much time into the sport. And during it, I really didn't realize how much it gave me back and how much I learned and how much people I met and, the relationships I created, the matches that I lost and what I learned from those more than the ones I won. I don't really remember the matches I won. I remember the environment, the crowd, and that's awesome. And you'll never get that again. But I think, losing and having to go back and wake up the next morning, in your bed when your parents aren't there and your brother's downstairs and you got to deal with it yourself. It's just like, you can't teach that. That's just something you can't learn by anything else. And it's not like football. It's not like any other sport. It's like you are responsible for losing. You're responsible for winning. You're responsible for the outcome of the match. Yeah, you can say the official, and sometimes you can blame the refs, but realistically, it's always your fault.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to pick yourself up. You have to learn. I mean, Coach Hancock talks about it. It's like, yeah, you know what? The one thing that I appreciate that he actually said about me with him, I hate losing better than I like winning. It's true. I hated losing. I lost a lot, but it doesn't mean I liked it. And I think that's just, it taught me so much about life. And I love wrestling. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. And I always have a great appreciation for it, more now after I'm done than when I was wrestling. I mean, I get more stressed for people that like, that I know than I did myself. You know, when I was watching camera wrestling, it was more heart wrenching than I was when I lost. So it's just, you know, it was more of a love hate relationship when I was doing it. But then after, it's just like, man, I can't believe, you know, I had the honor to do something like this. Majority of my life, I'm lucky and I'm privileged to do it.
Mm-hmm. What's the environment really like when you step out into the arena? Like, how do you prepare your mindset?
I think it depends. So you have the Penn State ideal, which is like fun. And if people don't know who Penn State is in wrestling, they've won 11 out of the last 12 national titles. So the best team, the most dominant team in college sports, bar none. You could say football. There's no other team that dominates like them. They're the most, I'd say, impressive dynasty I've ever seen in my life. And they're going to continue. They're probably going to win it again next year. Or sorry, this year. Probably next year as well. But I think going into that arena depends on the wrestler, because some people get stressed out. Some people are just like surrender the outcome. You know, it's just another day in the office. Some people are just pumped and maybe angry. It just depends on the wrestler. I was more of like, I can't wait to get out there and put on a show. Like I was more of, you know, let's score points. Let's just throw it out there. There was no strategy. There was never a strategy. And it was more like, let's just do this for the crowd, because I'm like, that's why they're here. I'm not going to win 1-0. You know, I'll lose 13-14, but I'm not going to lose 1-0. I'm not going to win 1-0. I'm going to put points on the board. So I was a little more different on the way I approached it. I did care about winning and losing, but I wasn't going to let the ref decide the outcome. I wasn't going to let the other guy decide the outcome. If I was going to make a mistake, it was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, it was a little bit different when I was going into the arena, because when I went out there, I was just prepared for war. So I was never, you know, okay, I'm going to do this attack and that attack. I was like, dude, whatever's open, I'm going to go get it. So I just differ in that. Miles probably has a different answer than I do. Cameron has a different answer than I do. But I just went out there and just went to war. Just always what I did.
Would you say you're a showman?
Yeah, definitely. In every facet of life, the podcast, you know, on TV, you know, AI, whatever you finance, whatever it may be. That's just my personality in general. You know, I'm an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what I was born to do. That's why I'm on TV, or else I wouldn't be. You know?
I saw you a couple weeks ago. I saw you on ESPN.
Yeah,
You're doing the analytics. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah. It's fun. Honestly, it's for the Big Ten Network. So for those who don't know, obviously, there's the play-by-play, which is like the announcing, and then there's the pregame show. So wrestling is one of the few sports in the Big Ten that actually has its own pregame show. So it's pretty niche, but there's a large audience. So it's funny because I got started with it out of nowhere. I didn't even understand the stuff. I didn't even know if I liked it. You know, our SID, which is our student director at Michigan, was like, "Hey, do you want to do announcing?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? Sounds fun." And then fast forward 3 years later, I'm 300,000, 400,000 people are tuning into Iowa, Penn State, and I'm on television. So it's kind of funny how fast that grew. I didn't even know it was an interest of mine until I did it. And honestly, even while I was doing it, just like, again, another day in the office, right? I get to go on, this is a privilege. I get to go talk to people through a microphone, and they get to listen to me break down my favorite sport. So it was just really cool for me to do. And I really never expected it. It was not something I wanted to pursue after college.
What's that mindset like when you're presenting yourself on the Big Ten Network?
Oh, it's hilarious because when I tell people, they're like, "Did you prepare?" I'm like, "No, I don't prepare at all. I didn't prepare for this podcast. I don't prepare. I'm not a big preparation guy. I think when it comes down to solving problems, and I honestly look at that in life as problem solving. You know, whether it's finance, whether it's AI, whether it's a startup, whether it's consulting, wherever it may be, this stuff, media, it's problem solving. So the more that you have the plan, it's like, I feel like it kind of takes away the authenticity of the conversation or the solution. Obviously, when you're going to write a financial plan or you're going to consult somebody, you have to have some ammo, right? You don't want to go in there naked, but usually you get a feel for it. So like I follow my dad a lot. Like my dad, like he does prepare, but he knows exactly what he's going to say in every situation. He's a machine when it comes to that, and he's seen everything, and that just comes through experience. So, I've had 20 years of experience in wrestling. Some bullet points on a TV, on a piece of paper is going to slow me down. I'm going to lose that authenticity where my brain's pulling this information from. So if I look at a great example, so you look at Penn State, right? I could write all these things about Penn State that's going on right now, but what's it really going to take from me to get that experience that I saw when I was there? Penn State was dominant when I was there. I mean, through 2014 through 2019, only one title did they not win. It was 2014, and Ohio State won it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get that if I'm trying to write down 4 or 5 things that, that might be prepared that happened last week. You want to get the true reaction of how I feel and say, you're the analyst, you're the expert, right? So you know what's going on a daily basis in wrestling. You watch it. So it's more, cookie cutter it's almost like reading off a prompter. Do you trust somebody that's reading off a prompter? Or do you trust the guy that's just going off the riff? Like, I'm going to trust the guy that's off the riff because his gut feeling majority of the time is me the truth. Mm-hmm. So when you go on TV, it's like, yeah, there's some things that I have to reference and some quick thoughts, but most of it, I don't even look at the paper. When I write stuff down, I don't even look at it. I just say, we'll talk about a guy, Luke Lillidahl, who's 125, just won the Big Ten. It's like, what do I see? I say, well, he's dominant. He scores a lot of points. He's fast. He talks about being an artist on the canvas, because he likes to talk about the wrestling mat as a canvas. So, you loop that in there. And then, you just give your opinions. Like, hey, Luke Lillidahl is one of the best guys at 125. He's the returning All-American. He's the number 1 guy in the country. I expect him to do what he's supposed to do. Everybody, might think that Jory Volk, who was the guy who went against, could take him out. But everything that I've seen, I don't think that's going to happen. Versus he's got a good double leg. He's got a loose single. Like, what would you rather hear, right? Mm-hmm. You'd probably rather hear just like off the cuff, off the riff. This is what I think about Luke Lillidahl. This is what I think about, the 157-pound guy who's a freshman, who's a phenom, which is PJ Duke. So I think when you're going into announcing, I think when I first started, I did a lot of preparation, and now it's just gut feeling. Okay. So I kind of did a little bit of both, but the more time that the more time I spend in an industry or at a hobby or doing something I enjoy, I say the less prepared that I get because I want it to be authentic and I don't want it to be scripted.
I like that point of view. Do you have any higher aspirations for commenting?
No, I have a lot of other interests outside of commenting. I love wrestling. Don't get me wrong, and we talked about it earlier. It's one of the I'd say the cherished possessions of my life, and I'll never forget it. But there's other things mentally that challenge me, and I recently, I've gotten a lot into AI. I've always been into AI. I was one of the early users of ChatGPT before they even released 3.5, 3.0. It was 2.5, and that was in 2021. So I really got stuck in that. I got stuck in crypto, and 2020, I did my certificate from Cal Berkeley. I met a lot of really smart people. So I think my aspirations kind of like I capped out what I wanted to do at the beginning. If the opportunity came, obviously, if ESPN called me, they want me to do the NCAAs, I'm not going to turn it down. But I've had opportunities to go do it for the United World Wrestling Organization, and I was like, it doesn't do it for me, right? I want to seek out more mental challenges than something like that. Of course, it's enjoyable, but I want to go into a completely different field that I know nothing about and learn in that field. So I think when it came down to trying to continue that career, because everybody asked me that question. It's like, hey, why don't you go do it for ESPN? Why don't you go do different sports? It's like, it's a devil in a new dress. It's just a different, it's just a different sport. Yeah, is that a challenge? But I'm like, not to me. Okay. So I don't want to be that with any disrespect if the Big Ten ever sees this, but no. It's they probably won't. But it's more of a mental challenge. Yeah, hey, Big Ten, if you're watching, I will take the job if you give me it.
No, they won't watch it. Your podcast gets no views.
Well, they're not. They don't even watch my stuff. So they tell me good job. I'm like, what did I do right? They're like, I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to watch wrestling. I get it.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, I just have different aspirations, and I'm actually a closet nerd. I really enjoy technology, and
that's what your brother was saying.
Yeah, I just AI is just one of those it's peculiar fields that you just look at, and you're just like, wow. Like when crypto first came out, I was like, this is gonna change the world. Mm-hmm. And then you had this BS stuff with meme coins and all that, and yeah, they have their place. Like the internet, when it first came out was illicit activity, and every network needs that to grow. And I think with blockchain in general, it did need that, but the prolonged period that it was happening, I think, hurt it. And I think you had that Sam Bankman-Fried issue in 2022, and you have all this fraud going on. And the finance guy, I don't think any of that's correct. I think blockchain as technology is awesome, but I think that field has a lot more time to mature than something like AI that's moving at an acceleratable rate. And it's you see it every day, and it's just crazy the new things that are coming out, tools. I did I'd say 2-3 years of computer science at Harvard online, and that's how I taught myself to code. And like, it's not obsolete because you still have the fundamentals,
Mm-hmm.
but it's AI can write better code than I can. And
Dude,
it's
Claude is good.
yeah, and I think it's a space race between these companies. I think you see Claude, you see Gemini, you see DeepSeek, and the Chinese models, which are really awesome because they're open source. For people that don't know what open source means, is that if you have a model on your computer, your data's not getting exported and training the models, which is great. Meaning that if you don't have money to buy a Claude subscription or buy a ChatGPT subscription, you can run these models locally on your computer, which is awesome. Which I'm
Mhm.
huge on. I'm a huge open source guy. So yeah, the things that AI can do is it's just I think that people I think there's two groups. Tech bros, I'll call myself a tech bro, overestimate what it can do. Normal people underestimate. So it's somewhere in the middle. So the tech bros say, well, AI agents are going to take over the world. They're going to replace everybody's job.
Mhm.
I honestly am starting to shift towards the middle, and I don't think that's going to happen because agents aren't super smart. Um, Normal people think, well, my job's not, I'm in a specific field and it can't be replaced. Well, buddy, go use one of these tools and tell me that you can do better work than it can because it can do higher level work than I can.
Mhm.
And I consider myself pretty intelligent, right? Like
Mhm.
I went here, I went to Michigan, I went to Berkeley. Like
Yeah.
I did to the Harvard court. Like, listen, if it can do things that I thought were very hard in a trivial amount of time, like if you're doing a spreadsheet at your work, what do you think that Claude could do? It can do it in 30 seconds,
Mhm.
and with 100% accuracy. Human error is completely off. So it's such an interesting space, man. It's awesome to see it evolve so quickly, but it's also scary
Mhm.
as well.
When you first got into AI, did you mainly use it for finance, and what do you now use it
So
for
I was
mainly?
I'm a creative. I actually was building blockchain applications. I worked with a couple startups. This is more what I did in my free time. Most people when they go 9 to 5, you doom scroll and do all the other stuff. I'm joking, obviously, but and just talking about your generation, like Gen Z, it's kind of funny. It's like you go home and doom scroll. It's like, man, with this stuff, I can't. I just feel behind.
Mhm.
And I use these tools every day, and it almost feels like a video game because I'll be vulnerable a little bit. Like
Mhm.
during 2020, 2022, I was a loser, man. I was like, playing video games. I was still doing my job, and I was good at my job, but like I didn't
What
have.
were you doing? What was your job?
I was a financial advisor, still am,
Okay.
and probably plan to eventually. My dad slows down, run the company, and I think everything kind of all meshes together. You have the AI, you have the startup stuff. I'm just a continuous learner. I think
Mhm.
things that pique my interest and I want to learn about, I go and seek out. So if it's not interesting to me, like you talked about the Big Ten stuff, like, is it fun? I enjoy it. I love it. Do I love getting on the plane, going to Chicago, getting dressed up, and going to TV? Awesome. Yes, different kind of interest, different kind of, I'd say, satiation of what it means to be Malik Amine. That just can't be the only thing. I have to test myself intellectually. I have to get challenged. I have to say, this is hard. This is a tough problem to solve. How can I solve it? And the AI has been one of those things that just consistently evolves. It's like, how do I get to the level of the people that graduate from MIT? How do I get to the level of the people that graduate from Harvard or Berkeley or all these places? Like, what do they know that I don't know?
Mhm.
And how do I get? I'm probably never going to get to the level. I'll be honest.
Have
But
you ever talked to someone that went from MIT?
yeah, yeah. So that blockchain program, a lot of those guys end up being multi-million-dollar founders. So they founded their own crypto companies. One of them was called Drift. It's this exchange. She was in my group, but they raised a bunch of money. It's crazy to see people around you that are super intelligent because I like surrounding myself with smart people too because I'm like I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. It's
Yeah,
kind of
you are the 5 people hang out with.
yeah, true. Right. Very, very true. So we started AI Mastermind, um, couple weeks ago, and the ideas that people bring in, man, it's just like I never even thought this existed. We had guys, doing specific things and using it for the new hot things called OpenClaw. So using
Mhm.
OpenClaw to do specific things, your brother included.
Yeah.
So
He put me on with Claude.
yeah, Claude. Honestly, the thing that I like about Claude and I like about AI is just like you're gonna have this period where it's going to be existential for alignment. And I don't want to scare people, but it's the truth. It's like there will be a point with AI that it will be running operations that people, basically are pressing a button to approve. And
Mhm.
I think the human error is going to get more and more, I'd say, irritating for AI. That's like, hey, I don't want you involved in this process anymore because you're slowing me down.
Mhm.
And you want to make sure as a human race that you're aligned with that. You see the Hesgath news, like, ChatGPT and OpenAI are partnering with the government. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't like that at all because I know the capabilities of this stuff. I mean, you could spawn a million agents snap of a finger, and now that it could, do anything you want. It could get people's data. It could, do airstrike. Like, it's just the unlimited possibilities of that people aren't thinking
Right.
about this technology, and the people do understand it even higher level than I do. And I feel like I understand it pretty well. Is that the existential risk of using this, there is no go back.
Mhm.
And I think as the human race evolves with this technology, we have to understand the risks of it. Personal data, huge risk? Not really. It's not like people make this whole idea of like, am I so secure number this? I'm like, that is not useful to an AI, like at all. It really isn't, but it could be. And that's what scares me. It's like, if it's used for the wrong things, yes, because now it has your personal data and it can say, well, Nick Ravid lives XYZ here, but I know it's here. I'm being totally serious. It might seem like I'm joking, but
I know.
we don't know what's inside that black box.
Of course.
So you have to be careful. And that's why I like using these local models. You can share any personal information. It doesn't go anywhere. It stays
Mhm.
on your computer. But how do I know Anthropic's not using my data, which is Claude? How do I know that Gemini, which is Google's, not using my data? How do I know that, ChatGPT, which is OpenAI, is not using my data? Probably the 99% question is that they are.
Yeah.
So it's a risk. And
I think it's a good risk though.
well, what are you optimizing for is my question. So
Me, what I optimize with. All right, before that, I will answer that question, but I did want to ask you a question. But between all the language models for AI, which ones do you rank them like 1 through 4, the main 4?
Claude's number one, no question. And there's a couple of reasons why. So Opus 4.6, which is Claude's latest model, is I, I think I don't want to say this because I don't want to get burned. It's probably closest thing to AGI that we've had.
What's AGI?
Artificial general intelligence. So
Okay.
it can operate on its own. It can make nuanced decisions and it understands the decisions it makes upon itself. So you go tell it to do a task, it's not going to mess up the task. It's going to understand what you want from a small amount of information. So how AIs work is like you have this thing called a context window. This is called token window. So
Mhm.
you have anywhere from 256 tokens, which is pretty normal, 100K tokens, to a million. So a million tokens is like, I think of it like this, is if you have a child, right? A 4-year-old, right? A 4-year-old or 5-year-old can only remember so much. So you're going from a 4-year-old to a PhD that's at, Harvard. That's the difference between 256K, context to 1 million. It's a huge jump. So when you're talking about using an AI model, like you're just behind using the one that's not the most intelligent. So like, what's the compounding effects of that? So I think Opus 4.6, which is Claude's models, is so far ahead of everything else. ChatGPT is trying to keep up, but it's just, I mean, I've used the 5.4. It's just not even the same thing. I can't wait to get, my usage, because your usage caps out on a weekly basis. Like mine's, I'll tell you when it is. It's Friday at 12 a.m. because I know exactly when it comes back on because I know exactly what I'm going to use it for. So if I was going to rank them, it's like Claude's number one. Opus 4.6 is the best flagship model. It's not even close. Chinese models are similar. You have Quen, you have DeepSeek, you have Kimi, which is like, they're all open source, which is great. But they basically copied the US models, what they call it. It's called distillation, which they basically create a bunch of accounts, they prompt the model, and then they steal the information to create their own models. Great for people like us because you get that same intelligence for free. Bad for those companies that are raising trillions of dollars. But I digress. I digress.
Yeah.
I'd say probably goes Claude, OpenAI, Gemini, and then everything else. XAI, Olama, which is Facebook, Chinese models. It's just the space race between those three is interesting, but I just think the gap between Opus 4.6 and all the others is just so large. It's
Okay.
just, you can see it in the intelligence of the answers. Like if anybody's going to use it, and you'll understand what I'm saying. When you go home, use Opus 4.6 versus
Dude, I use
Sonnet.
it every day.
Okay, so use Opus.
I saw this one statistic where it's like, out of the 8 billion people, only like 500 million use AI.
Nobody's using it.
Yeah, nobody's using it. And so like, to me, it's like, this is a great opportunity, especially for my generation. I've been telling people on my podcast, I had a teacher, I was like, we need to be teaching like people to use like pro AI. Like they should be classes.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, if you need an AI guy, I got you.
Yeah.
I've been using this stuff.
Mr. Hancock.
Yeah. Well, it's just I
You might be the new principal.
yeah, no way. I don't want that job. Sorry, Coach Hancock. But yeah, I urge people to use it, but use it in the right ways.
Of course.
Why I say that is you don't want to use it to do your critical thinking. And I think critical thinking skills might be all the humans have left after AI replaces majority of work. And work's going to look a lot different. So
What do you think's going out first?
white collar jobs? I mean, like portfolio analysis, dead. Data entry, dead. Any sort of portfolio, like any sort of data entry job that a computer can do better than human, dead. Eventually, you'll see robotics do the same thing in factories. It's.
I still think we got a while.
I don't know.
I think the closest we have is Elon Musk's robots.
Oh, you're talking about physical AI. Yeah, no, for sure. It's that's
I see what
that's
you mean.
more of a 5 to 10 year thing. But I think generative AI, LLMs, and agents. So like you have So AI is in a couple fields, right? You have generative, which is the your large language models. You have agents, which are basically act upon tasks.
Yeah.
Like they're task oriented AIs. And then you have what they call is like physical AI, which is intelligent AI, which is making decisions and is moving. It's more like machine learning AI. So that's really cool too. Like that's our field I'm starting to explore into with machine learning, which is awesome. It's a really, really cool field. Way, way different than LLMs. It's a completely different field, completely different set of intelligence, completely different training. But yeah, I agree with you on that. It's probably going to take a while because manufacturing. I mean, you can manufacture AIs in a computer. It's just like
And the movement.
well, yeah, the movement, and then I think that honestly the biggest thing that's going to hold AI coming into companies, and one of the things that I started recently was like an AI consulting company. It was like, okay, yeah, I know how to do this stuff. I can teach businesses to do what I'm doing, and implement it in their business. And the reception has been pretty bad, I'll be honest, because people are afraid of it. And it's like, why would you tell somebody they're going to replace their job with an AI workflow? But if you're the owner of the company and you're like, hey, now I can chat, text Telegram, and I'm talking to like an employee, which is your AI, and it's going to do it's. So the problem.
Shout out Bot Father.
Yeah, well, yeah, seriously, actually, yeah, straight up. But the problem is always going to be is can the AI do 80% or higher of what the employee can? Because if it can't, it's not worth it.
But as of right now, mainly, it still needs human help. Like you have to but bro, even with Claude though, you have to type in certain words.
Yeah, agents are stupid. I will agree on that. But
so I still think, and I truly believe this. I think I said this. I was talking about this with someone. I think that it's never been more expensive to live in the world, but it's never been more easy to make money. And so with AI,
Agreed.
I think you can expand that. You can make money so much faster. And I think with humans and with AI, that it still needs a lot of human interaction for it to be max capacity.
It's the world of solopreneur. Like now, the cost of labor and the cost of, I'd say, the best word is product market fit, because it's really what it is. It's like the marginal cost is zero because of AI. So like if you're a solopreneur and you want to launch a technology company for what it would cost 5 years ago versus now, like I remember when I was first developing, I couldn't do front end development, and it cost me $3,000 to get somebody just to make a static web page. I can do that in 30 seconds now with fully interaction, back end, and everything. Obviously, I understand a little more than other people, but it gives engineers way more leverage now than they had 5 years ago. You could only write so much code as an engineer. You're doing it by hand. The first thing that ever came out was called Manus, which was an AI coding assistant. And like you could use ChatGPT to code, but you were copying what the code was on ChatGPT and pasting it in what they call the individual development environment, which is called the IDE. So that even has changed a lot. So I do agree that the leverage has increased, but the one thing I will say, and Miles and I have talked about this a lot, the tools have never been easier, but that doesn't mean you automatically have agency. You know what agency is, right?
No, explain.
So agency is essentially like hard work. I mean, it really is. Like, do you have high agency? Do you wake up in the morning and do the right things? Are you going to? Okay, yeah. It's a tech term, but the agency is like, is the person going to go out there every day and test their ideas, go out there and work hard, go out there and be not afraid of failure? Are they going to be ethical? It's just kind of all combined in one. It's a startup word. You want to work with people that have high agency. Are they trustworthy? Are they going to wake up? Are they going to, do the right things? Are they going to not lollygag? Are they going to do the hard things? Are they going to call people? Are they going to reach out? Like that is not going to change because of AI. I don't think somebody that's not high agency is going to become high agency because they have the tools available to them. I actually think the opposite of that. It's going to make people more lazy because the guy that orders DoorDash at 10 p.m., is he going to ever make dinner? No, he's not going to. More than likely not, right? So how is that same person going to go start a company with AI? It's not going to. It's going to give more leverage to the people that are already doing this.
Correct.
That they didn't know how. They were watching the YouTube tutorials, that were, going to fairs, were going to conventions, trying to figure this stuff out. Now they can do it from their basement.
Let me ask you a different question regarding AI. What do you think of probably like the biggest scare that people have is the generative pictures?
That's
Do you think that's like useful? Do you think it's like that's the harmful part of AI?
No, I don't, and I think it's stupid. I honestly think it's a one dumber use case of AI.
Because I love it.
Well, for memes and stuff and making fun of people.
Well, I use it for like marketing.
Yeah, but so here's the thing, and I'll prompt you, and I think that I had to prompt you, right? Haha. But I'll question you to think about this: is that if the cost of art and the cost of code is zero, what makes it special? If everybody can do something, where's the value in it?
Correct.
There's no value, right? So the imperfect things, the imperfect art,
wabi sabi.
Yeah, seriously, the imperfect stuff will be valuable. So I think if the cost of the creation of art is zero and the marginal cost is zero, the things that take time and take creativity and take thought and that are imperfect and don't look right and look odd become valuable. And I think that's huge for artists. I mean, artists are afraid of this replacing them. It's like, yeah, if you were afraid of it replacing you weren't a good artist to begin with. And that's it's harsh truth, but it's the truth. It's same with computer science. If you're an engineer and you're worried about AI replacing you, your code wasn't good enough, or you didn't do because code is creativity too. There's 1,000 ways to do one thing. There's 15 different languages. People use Golang, people use Next.js, people use Node. There's Ruby.
A lot of tech terms here.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of coding languages. There's the first one they're basically all C languages, which is the first programming language, and it's built out from there. Different toolkits, different tool sets, optimized for different things. So there's 100 different ways to write one website. You could use 20 different methods. You could use what they call Vite, which is different than Next.js. So it's like the web page is going to look differently. But if you're just doing it like everybody else is doing it, what makes you different? Where's your creativity? But as an engineer, you understand that creativity because you're used to using these things. So you have that leverage. It's no different than artist. Yeah,
modern art sucks, I would argue.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I agree with you. We have lost creativity as a human race.
A banana got 4.4 million in auction.
Yeah, it's just stupid. I agree with you. I think AI actually, the one thing AI does is it exposes for how stupid some things are. Like the day jobs that you're just clicking a computer, it's just a job for the sake of a job. It's a harsh truth, but it is.
Yeah.
So if something, and it comes down to this, if something can do it better than you, your intelligence is better used for something else that AI can't do. So when you talk about creativity, like AI is not creative. I'll debate anybody on any podcast, any place in the world to tell me it's creative. It's not. And I've used these things for a long time, and it has not gotten any more creative. It has gotten better at problem solving and helping you solve problems, but it hasn't gotten more creative. The human is the creative. So you almost look at it as a paintbrush, and the canvas is whatever you're creating. Yeah. So you can't lose creativity. If you lose that, what makes you any different? Employable, startup, art, whatever it may be. If you're doing everything else, and the same things what everyone else is doing, what makes you any different? And that's the thing I'm saying about the generative AI. It's like, we all could make the funny pictures. We all could make the marketing material. But if every single influencer, every single page is, and you probably do it for Instagram, right? So like, you still have to write the captions. You still have to be clever. There's still a lot of creative work that goes into it. It's not, I have access to post on Facebook, which is an API. I'm not going to get too technical, but like you can post on Facebook every day. You could automate that. Yeah. And you can have the AI generate.
Well, on Instagram, you can just post, and it'll also post for you on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about even more abstracted. I'm talking about if you have access to what they call an API. It's called application. You know what it is. Yeah. Okay, it's application program interface. Basically, you're interacting with the application without having to go on the app. You could have an AI have access to an API, generate the pictures, do what they call a feedback loop, meaning that whatever pictures or whatever posts get the most likes or most engagement, double down on that type of content and run it on autopilot. And you would never have, and a human's not in the loop at all. The AI is looking at data, aggregating the data, and then posting more like content like that. I've done it. I know how to do it. It's crazy. But you go and look at the content, and it's like, there's no heart, there's no soul. And it's like, yeah, it might get likes, and yeah, it might grow your brand, and this is what people may want, but there's no soul in it anymore. It's like you're making soulless content. So it's like everybody's doing that.
Mhm.
So what are people really going to keep consuming it?
I think so.
You think so? Okay. So
As a marketer who runs like big Instagram pages, like bro, people just love the memes. Now I do. I'm not gonna say the name, but I do own a big Catholic brand.
mhm.
And like those type of people, like they've DM me, be like, "You've helped me so much with my faith. Like, thank you so much for
See,
creating
that's
this
beautiful
page."
though.
Like, so there is definitely an art to it, but I think on my meme pages, like, bro, the people, dude, it's bad though, bro. Gary V talks about it. He just said like, "Rip social media. We're now in an attention economy."
It is. Attention is the most valuable asset and always will be.
So I think you're great for that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I fought it for a long time. I'll be honest. Miles and Nick, honestly, the two people who got me to start posting online. Because again, I'm a nerd, man. I like sitting behind a computer. I am a people person, so I like being in front of people. Last thing I like doing is flaunting on social media on this and that. And
It's so crazy. To me.
well, I've changed it. I am gonna start my brand the way that I want to. I'm gonna have separate brands. I have for Money Talk, which is about my finance, AI, which is about AI. And then
Let me know if you need help with videos.
yeah, well, I do because I'm just like I just do talking head, so I'm
Yeah.
just like I'll just do off the riff, and they'll get 400 likes or 400 views, and I actually my largest video, which is hilarious, on TikTok was one that was just a straight talking about the BS that I see on AI. It's like everybody's making $1 trillion with AI right now. It's not true. Nobody's making any money. They're trying to tell you that they're making money so they have something to sell you. And it was the same people that did it in crypto. It's the same people that did it in e-commerce. It's the same snake just sheds its skin. So I know people probably see a lot of that on social media and you feel like FOMO. It's not a bad FOMO because it gets you to use these tools. But I think people use AI to make money. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think you should use it to satiate your own interests. And if you make money, great. If you don't, you don't. You have to set the right expectations. So when I was launching Malik Amine, which is essentially my, AI brand. I was just like, what do I want it to be about? Do I want it to be about, oh my God, you're not doing this, you're not going to make money? No, because that's not me. I don't want to lie to people.
Mhm.
If it doesn't blow up, it doesn't blow up, whatever. But I am going to get better at talking to a camera, which eventually everybody's going to have to do because that's where the audience is going to live. I know that as a financial advisor, the assets being inherited are going to be people who are online. And are they going to trust you or not going to trust you? Because they might not even want to see you in person, but if they know your brand is associated with something they can trust. Yeah, of course they're going to trust you. So I think there's a couple ways to look at it. Yes, attention is scarce, but I'd rather build an audience of 300 people that trust me than 300,000 that will go somewhere else. And their attention is sellable. So like it's going to be hard, I think, in the future to compete in that space because if everybody's selling the same sauce and they're no different than the other and they're not authentic, it's going to be tough because somebody could spawn tomorrow and sell them the same sauce and they're going to go there because this guy's new and he's telling them something different and you just lost your audience versus somebody who's just like, hey, nobody else is going to be better than being Malik Amine than Malik Amine or Mitch.
But they
or
got to
Mitch.
fall in love with you.
But yeah, well, it takes time. There's no quick, like I think the get rich quick or like the quick growth, like that just doesn't happen.
Of course, I tell everyone that.
Well, it's just compounding. Compounding is showing up every day expecting just nothing. I know that there might not be a result today, but eventually there's going to be a result. They call it it's called growth acceleration in startups. It's like, you look at a growth acceleration curve. It's not straight. It looks something like this. And then it's just critical mass, meaning that there's no going back after you reach it. So this period during the trough might be 5 years. It's, in startups, it's product market fit. It's where you're trying to figure out, how to sell it to people, what the technology does, and what they call 1,000 iterations. If you admire Naval, he talks about 1,000 iterations of you have to do something 1,000 times before it, turns out to whatever the end product is. You go look at Amazon. Amazon was a bookstore. Now they're, global freaking commerce. They're huge. Facebook, they started off as a social network. Now they're they're just a network in general. I mean, they're not even a social network. I would say it's dishonest to call Facebook a social network. They're a network of people, and they have so many different products. They became a monolith. You can go look at multiple businesses. It's like, if it took them 10 years or 15 years, what is it like? What do you think edge that you have that you're going to do it in 12 months? So, I think it's good to study that stuff because if you don't expect results right away and you expect them, not even expect them down the road, if you never expect results and you just do it for the love of the game, everything's going to surprise you, and I think when it comes to social media, when it comes to financial advising, when it comes to startups, like you're going to fail. things are going to suck. There's going to be really bad periods of time where you think that you should quit. But if you make it through those periods, there's a lot of good on the end. And the success comes eventually to the guy that shows up every day, not the guy that posts 20 times a day for 3 days. The guy that's posted 1 time a day for 3 years. It's true.
As a marketer, I disagree, but yeah.
Yeah, what?
I get what you're saying.
No, I mean, maybe social media is different, but you have to. I'm saying you have to change your content.
No, I get
You can't post. Well, your brand is a little bit different. When you're talking about pages, it's a little bit different than a person.
Well, even with people I've worked with who are clients.
You're talking about Instagram though, right?
No, just all social media, bro.
Really?
I think, and like, because of how rapid things are, and I think literally because of TikTok, bro. TikTok is probably the most addictive app on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, like we're losing all of our followers."
So let me ask you a question. What is the secret behind it?
The one, I think like the 15 second, you can just swipe endlessly, and you can just keep consuming content. And it got so good, the algorithm, that like, okay, we like how you like dog pictures so much. We're going to show you thousands of them. It's like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
And you don't even have to like it. It's now so good. If you just watch it for a period of time, more will show up. That's how good the algorithm is. Now, like, I've positioned myself where like I know how to tap into that. And I tell clients this, like, I can get you X amount of views, but you need to post this amount of times. And so let me help you do that. And so with, I had a lawyer who landed a client off of just one reel.
Yeah.
So
wow.
It's very scary and very addictive, but it's like
you don't see that changing?
Dude, if it's anything, it's gonna get worse.
Acceleration.
Yeah. It's like you said. And with AI, bro, I'm trying to like be on top of it because like I could be at risk potentially at losing my job. But I think because I own the pages. I don't think
so, man.
I think because of the pages and because I'll be the person, like it'll be my own business. I'll be like, okay, like I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But if I feel like if I'm not on top of it or if I'm not learning about it, I'll just be cooked.
Yeah. I'm not a content creator, so this is your space. I don't really know much about it, but I can almost assure you that eventually people will get tired of AI content, because if everybody's doing it and they're seeing the same thing, there's no value in it. It's just like I looked at Brad Cochran. You might not know who he is, or Michael Smoke. They're 2 guys that I like, that I follow. They're just creators, and they just have a personal brand. They're not a page. They have nothing to sell you. I mean, they do. They have a coaching business, but it's like their whole brand is themselves. So I think they do a lot of what they call counter positioning. So if most people are talking about, oh, you need to do this and this and that, they do the opposite. So I think I appreciate that a lot, because yeah, you might not get 10,000 views or 100,000 million views, whatever it may be, but the people that are watching your content are there to watch you. And that attention is not scarce, because they follow Michael Smoke, or they follow Miles Amine, they follow Stevan is a great example.
Mm-hmm.
So look at Stevan Micic. For people who don't know, Stevan Micic was a teammate of mine at Michigan. He was a 4-time All-American, Olympic, 2-time Olympic guy, Olympic qualifier, won the worlds. His whole brand is wrestling. Everything's wrestling. And then he's got a clothing brand as well. But nobody else is going to be able to beat, like, you can't compete against Stevan in that market. Mm-hmm. Yes, he does a lot of stuff, and he posts once a day on TikTok, he posts on YouTube, he posts on, on Instagram. Sorry, not Instagram. Did I say Instagram? I didn't say Instagram. I said TikTok, YouTube. You get the gist.
Yeah.
And his whole thing's wrestling. That's it. But like, if you were to post about AI, nobody'd care about AI.
Right.
And that's the danger of the personal brand. Is just like, if you have other interests, you can't talk about them. And it doesn't,
unless you make your personal brand about many different things.
Well, that's what I did. So I separated them. So I have a separate TikTok for each. So I'm not trying to, the same person, but it's almost, have you ever heard of the law of familiarity?
Yeah.
Okay. So the more times you appear, the more likely people are to either like your content. You seem familiar to them. Mm-hmm. It's not like some dude that they've never seen before trying to sell them something, but they've seen you on Instagram. Giuliano Massarelli is a great example of that. Mm-hmm. Like, people didn't know he was selling life insurance, but they laugh at his content like, oh, it's Giuliano Massarelli. Like, I trust him. I see him on my Instagram all the time. Like, but it took time for him to build that. But, he appears a lot on social media because number one, he posts a lot. He's very authentic in the way he does stuff and very different. And I've never seen somebody make sales calls with music in the background. And life insurance is the hardest thing to sell. But it's like that kind of stuff I love, because it's just like, it's so hard to mimic that. And if you try, you can, but you're not going to be able to be Giuliano Massarelli better than him. Mm-hmm. Like, the thing about pages, I don't argue with Nick. I just like say it's a different niche. It's like pages there's no face behind them. So, if you have,
I get what you're saying with the pages, but I'm talking about specifically with personal brands with people who show their face.
yeah,
Also.
well, that's hard because it depends on what your personal brand is. You have to niche yourself down a lot.
Yeah, but Gary Vee even talks about it. He said like if you want to become a
I don't
good
listen to
personal
Gary
brand-
Vee. Gary Vee, don't listen to him because
I disagree.
He talks
I love him.
He talks about there's only one method because there's not. And I'm talking about people in Austin that have millions of followers that have done.
No, there's not one method. He's wrong in that, but in the sense he is correct.
He's right about he's like post 20 times a day. Okay, yeah, maybe, but if this is your only thing that you're doing, yeah, I mean, what else do you have to do today? If you want to be a UGC creator, yeah, you should 100%. But if your job as a financial advisor at a law firm, either work with someone with you like you that does it for them, or if you can post one time a day, it's better than posting zero.
Correct. I 100% agree with that.
It's a quality of the content too. So if you're just getting on there and just BSing and talking about nothing, two posts aren't going to mean anything. But if it's one very, very good post that has a lot of information and is close to your top funnel, or your bottom funnel, depending on whatever the heck it is, yeah, it's more useful than somebody posting 15 times of BS. It's just, it's obvious. It's like me trying to, get close to the mic. Sorry.
No, I just put it up a little.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
You're good.
So I was going off, but yeah, I mean, there is no one method to success. Everybody's going to find their thing differently. Social media. I don't know anything about social media. I'll be honest. It's not my space. AI, crypto, finance.
Wrestling. I do want to talk a little bit more about crypto.
Okay, go ahead.
So, you got early into crypto. How did you get into crypto and what do you love about it?
I got into crypto through a guy named Dan Osterman. He wrestled at Michigan State. I take that back. It was 2017, but I didn't really know much about it. Honestly, I'd say when I really started getting...
This was ancient.
Yeah, 2017 was when I first got into it. A bunch of people were buying Bitcoin on like these weird exchanges, and I lost a lot of money, and it was not fun. So I had a really bad first experience. But the second experience I had was a guy reached out to me on LinkedIn. His name's Dan Osterman. He wrestled at Michigan State. He's multiple successful businesses in Oregon. And he like messaged me about Michael Saylor. I was like, this guy's talking about Bitcoin. I was like, what the heck is Bitcoin, And I kind of ignored it for a while. And then I was just started to read more about it, read the white paper, Satoshi Nakamoto, smart contracts, a guy named Nick Szabo, who was one of the early founders of the technology, which is called BitGold, which eventually became Bitcoin. And I just fell in love with cryptography. I think it's amazing technology. I know it's existed for a while. Blockchains have existed for a long time, but this is the first iteration we ever saw in practice. And in 2020, that's when I applied to do the program at Berkeley because I was like, I need to learn more about this. So the tools were not what they are today. It's funny because it's 6 years ago, but they really weren't. I mean, you could go get the information, but it was hard. There was no AI. There was no search engine optimization to tell you the right thing. Well, Google didn't give you anything. So I took advice from, one of my buddies went to Michigan. He's like, yeah, there's a bunch of courses online, but you can do the in-person, do that. So I applied for the one at Berkeley. COVID hit. So COVID hits. So I'm sitting at home like, what the heck am I going to do? And they're like, we're going to still do the course. We're going to discount it. It was like 10 grand or 6 grand, whatever it was. A crazy amount of money. Discounted to like 2 grand. So I was like, if you still want to do it, it's discounted. So I said, absolutely, I'm going to do it. So I did that. It was like a 1 year program, blockchain and finance at Berkeley. It was a certificate program. I think now it's a degree. And that's kind of where it started. And then the rest was history, spend a lot of time in the space, still do a little more hands off now, just because.
Have you made good money?
Yeah. But I think, the money part of it is great. I think the money part is nice. I think it's pompous saying it. Yeah, I've done well, but the coolest thing I think about blockchains is they disrupt.
You really are a tech guy.
Yeah, why?
No, you just love talking about it. I just love it. I just love it.
Yeah, I just love it. You know why? Because I like disruptive industries. I think disruptive industries, I'm a huge Steve Jobs fan. I love Steve. He's one of the best entrepreneurs of all time. I don't care what anybody says. And he just talks about clearing the old and washing away with the new. So, I'm eventually going to be outdated and somebody's going to go replace something I made, and that's beautiful. I don't want anything to stand forever. It shouldn't. I think that's the beauty about technology is that you always have something new coming out. And the moats that you thought were moats got disrupted. Facebook will be disrupted. Apple will be disrupted. All of these companies are eventually disrupted. Timeline, who knows? Mm-hmm. But go look at Rockefeller, the railroads, oil, that eventually got disrupted. You look at, horse and buggy, automobile, there's so many industries that got disrupted over time. To think that your industry should be protected, even my own in finance. So I have to be proactive in my approach to learn these new things. So eventually when I do, run the company is that I know what's coming and I can steer the ship a lot better than people that just kind of are going through the motions. So I think blockchains are the most disruptive in my industry, in finance, because I know how finance operates. You have middlemen everywhere. There's a fee here, there's a fee there. I don't know what this person does. This bank can't move your money. Well, blockchain can move across the world a fraction of a cent. If I had family in China, I can send them, USDC, which is US dollar, across, a blockchain in seconds, and it costs nothing, and they get it and they can spend it. Versus a bank, you have Western Union that charges you a fee. You have these, these remittance businesses like Cashly that charge you a 3% markup. It's just this industry is going to get destroyed and flipped on its head, and as it should. And I think the downside of crypto, because with everything good, there's bad, as with AI, you have opportunists. And I think that ruined the reputation for blockchain for at least in the short-term future, where you have people that launch these meme coins and stuff. There's no value, fundamental value. They say it's gambling, but I'd say, I'm not a gambler, but your odds on betting on the Knicks game tonight are better than on a meme coin, because at least with the Knicks game, and maybe this is analysis paralysis, you can assess the risk. I know that Jalen Brunson, is going to score this many points, and they're playing against the Raptors, and the Raptors don't have a good defense. Like, I can actually assess the risk, but I can't do that in a meme coin because I don't know who's holding. I don't know. You spin up 1,000 wallets, it could be the same person, and it's just it honestly tainted. It
painted a bad picture.
Well, it just tainted the reputation, because all the good stuff, the people that weren't marketers and weren't snake oil salesmen didn't know how to sell the technology to people, and I think it's going to make a comeback. Meme coins will be a thing forever.
What about NFTs?
I don't think NFTs were ever valuable. And here's why. I think art, again, is one of those things of where it has to live in the physical world, at least for right now. I can never count out technology in the future. It was new. It was novel. And that's why it ran.
Everyone was just bored, I feel like.
Yeah, you just got free money from a helicopter because of COVID. And people are just going to drop money in their bank account. You're going to spend it. You see it in finance. It's like, dealing with people. I like to call myself a behavioral financial therapist, because really what I am, not a financial advisor. Is how can you read people's emotions to how they make decisions in a market? So, when the market's down, people sell. When the market's up, they buy. People want to get rich right away, so they buy penny stocks and they buy crypto, but nobody wants to sit in the NASDAQ, or nobody wants to sit in, the small cap, or, a structured portfolio for 5 years. And, and it might take 5 years to generate, good return, versus I'd rather get rich overnight. But the problem with that is that nobody ever gets rich, and usually somebody else getting rich, not you. So it's just,
it's a risk.
It's not even the risk. Is that if it was so good, everybody would be doing it, and it's usually not the case. You got to pull back the mirage. And it's
Pudgy's up.
Well, NFTs are different, and it's just a different game. You just got to know the game you're playing. So it's meme coins. I'm not saying you can't make money in meme coins. I'm not saying you can't make money with NFTs, but you have to know the game you're playing.
Of course.
You have to know the players that you're playing against. It's almost like poker. It's like if I look at a poker table, I'm not an avid poker player, but I'm not a bad poker player either.
I love poker.
Yeah, well, you look at expected value, right? What's your expected value, right? It's hard to read if every single person or new NFT that's in, or crypto, or it doesn't matter, players. Let's just call them players in the pool. That's more assessed risk. That's more EV. So how much positive EV can you have in a massive pool? If you're only playing against a couple players, you only have to beat them. But if you're in this massive, let's say, unknown pool of information, you can't assess the risk. So you're basically blindly tapping a button, hoping that you hit the slot and make money, unless you have some sort of insider information, which I totally am against. I think that's BS. I don't like it. I've never participated in it. I think it's unethical. It just defeats everything I do on a daily basis in my job. I think you're basically taking advantage of other people. So I don't agree with that. It's another. I'm talking about all the bad things in crypto. I'll eventually get to some good stuff, but NFTs are no different than, poker or gambling. You're just hoping that somebody else will buy it from you at a higher price, and it's like art. A lot of art's worthless, but it's whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Crypto has evolved in a weird place where you had, these, what they call governance tokens, unvaluable, zero value in them, stupid, dumb. Nobody cares about governance. Nobody wants to go vote on a proposal when they have kids, or they have a day job. They're not gonna be voting on the future of MakerDAO. They don't. Like we were unrealistic in that percent. I was a huge governance token guy, by the way. I got burned, but yeah, I was huge on it. The idea sounded great, but it's like the people making decisions at these companies probably know better than the average investor, which is true.
Yeah,
you could appoint a governance board of people, and maybe that's kind of where we're moving in the future. There's this thing called futurarchy, which is really cool, but it's very hard to go and look at all the coins that came out from 2017 to today, and there's only a few standing. You know,
Yeah.
like the kings will always get slain. The only ones that really haven't is Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Solana. But like everything else, you know, Hyperliquid's a new one that's been out in the past 3 years, and it's doing really well. But you know, tomorrow another decentralized exchange come out tomorrow and just take them out. It's just there's no moat, which is beautiful, but it's also terrible as an investor. It's like you have to be very nimble in this space. Other than Bitcoin, nothing's displacing Bitcoin. And you just have to be so nimble. And it's just like, do you really have the time unless it's your industry, which it was my industry for such a long time that I just kind of put it on autopilot. Yeah, I buy Solana, I buy Hype, and then I'll buy Bitcoin. I just let it go. I don't even look at the prices. You get text messages, get calls all the time about being up and down. Like I don't have time. You know, I'm so hyper focused on AI right now. Like it's the only thing I'm focusing on because I know the impact it's going to have in my business. I know the impact it's going to have on people's lives. Crypto is going to take a lot longer, but I already have that information. It's not going to change that much over the next couple of years. I already did enough education, you know, in the 5 years that I spent pretty much every day in it, that it's not going to change that much. But AI, you know, you look
It's
at
too rapid.
well, just look at the models. They've changed so much. So
Let me ask you a question. How old are you?
30.
In the next, let's say, 30 years, as old as you are, how do you think the world's going to look?
I think it's, dude, I'd be aligned to you if I knew, because I don't know. Here's the problem.
You think it's like the movies and books say?
No, I don't think Terminator. I don't.
No, not Terminator, but I mean like Cyberpunk.
No, I think Cypherpunk, you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be careful answering this because there's two beasts inside me that say two different answers. One is
I know that you're going.
I'm just being completely serious because I see it on a daily basis. This year could be drastic.
Oh yeah.
This year alone. When you open Pandora's box with OpenClaw and AI agents, and now the problems are accessible by these companies, you're going to look at things that we never thought were possible. When you're talking about millions of agents, you know, running in a company or in a business, or you know, on the downside, attacking people's personal data or websites, and you know, when you're putting intelligence with that, it's just the people that have the most money will be able to have the most leverage. So when I talked about it earlier, it's called tokens and it's called usage. And, you know, if you have an unlimited bank account, you have unlimited intelligence. So it's concerning to see the gap between the haves and have-nots. And that's why I'm such a huge open source guy. Cause I'm like, you know, if you have access to somebody that's 50 to 60% of whatever the 90 to 100% model is, at least they have something that they can put on their computer to not just defend themselves, but to stay in the game. And you just see the moat, you know, disappearing with any sort of business. But then you also see it.
You bring it a little closer.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I usually have a headset with this thing on, so I'm used to just talking. But you just see the intelligence gap between these companies increase. But then you also see the wealth disparity with the access to these tools increase. So, you know, if I can afford a $200 a month Claude plan, you know, with the best intelligence, and somebody who can only afford the 20, it's a huge difference. And like, that's going to be the difference between me owning the small business, operating with that 24/7. They can only operate it at 8 hours. I can operate it at 60. I'm going to eat them. I'm going to eat them for breakfast. I'm going to put them out of business. And obviously there's nuance in there. Like a pizza shop, you know, people are going to go to Marco's Pizza because they like Marco's Pizza. But if I'm competing in, you know, like a law firm, and I can do a lot more and I can take on a lot more clients because of this, versus a law firm that can't, or the accounting firm that can't.
Yeah, they're cooked.
They're cooked because it's like, if I know that I'm going to get my taxes done, and they're going to save me a bunch of money, and they're using AI and it's going to find everything that it needs to, why would I be going with the guy down the street if this guy's going to cut my cost, you know, to do it, because he can do more volume and he's going to do a better job? Well, the accounting firm down the street's going to lose all its clients. Yeah, it might have some, but you're not going to get new clients. You're not going to be able to grow your business at the rate that somebody that's using this stuff. And that's the point that scares me, is that.
So that's what you think more the world will look like?
Dude, this is like this year.
This year?
This is like this year.
But like, think more like futuristic, like
utopia.
Utopia?
Utopia.
Flying cars?
Flying cars, marginal cost.
Hologram?
Dude, the thing that scares me is humanoids.
Okay.
And it's like, people like joke about this stuff. Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Like, brain cells could play Doom. They just
Dude, I saw that. Yeah. That was crazy.
So, don't play with fire. And it's I wish this was like a national podcast that people could listen to me, because it's like, again, it's a chasm. Once you cross it, you don't go back. So if you climb Mount Everest and you have a massive chasm, you don't go back up the mountain when you've already climbed it. This is the same thing, is that once you cross over that, there is no going back.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful with stuff like that because we don't know the outcomes and we don't know. Again, AIs are a black box. You know what LLMs do, right? They predict the next word. So it's all they do. It's called inference. So
yeah, notebook LM.
Yeah.
We use it for school.
well, yeah, well, they're just predicting the next word. We don't know where it's drawing the information from. We could say it's this data set. We don't know the prediction. We can try to understand it. We don't know it. So if you're putting in human intelligence with artificial intelligence, now you're talking about something so abstract that we can't predict it. It's no different than risk in the market. It's no different than risk in crypto. It's like if you can't predict the risk of something, that's concerning. And especially when you're putting human intelligence, we don't even fully understand human intelligence yet. We don't know where it comes from. Does it come from the brain cell? Does it come from the mitochondria? Does it come down to the cell level, nucleus? We don't know. We can't pinpoint it. We can try, we can theorize, but we don't know. So we don't even understand our own brain, but we're already hooking it up to something that we don't understand as well.
Yeah, like Neuralink.
Well, Neuralink's a little bit different. Neuralink,
Dude, that scares me.
it does, but I think it does more help than good. I hope it's not a Trojan horse to do.
Dude, I think personally on a spiritual level,
I agree. I agree.
dude,
Yeah.
on a spiritual level, and like, I think that goes against God's teaching.
Well, I'm a Muslim, so I agree with you.
Yeah.
So it's true. I think human technology, the brain was perfectly designed. Why would an
Yeah.
intelligent designer design it not to be? Unless he wanted you to combine this thing with you. But it's like,
Like if you lose, like if
it's
you,
not intelligence though. That's why I
Yeah.
try to tell people, listen, I share the same views as Naval Ravikant. The true test of intelligence is, did you get what you want out of life? So it's the only true intelligence, because we do stuff on a daily basis. Somebody's going to do the same thing that you're doing. Somebody's going to do a podcast just like us. Somebody's going to drive my same car. Somebody's going to be a financial advisor. Somebody's going to do the same thing that Malik Amine did on a daily basis. But what they can't ever do is get what I wanted out of life. If my wants out of life are going to be different than yours. Mine might be to be humanitarian. It might be to have global AI. It might just be, hey, I want to run a company of 1,000 people and, get closer to God, get closer to my religion, understand more about the world, right? And if that happens, if I die, I'd be okay with it, right? I got what I wanted. Versus, how is AI ever going to get what it wants out of life? It can't. It's not, and that's why I say it's not intelligence. Intelligence, we've tried to, as tech people, and I'll be a tech bro and I'll be vulnerable and say that not everything has to be efficiency. Not everything has to be A to B. I don't have to get this done immediately right away, and then the next thing needs to get done right away. Because I think it's a dangerous death loop that you get in, because you try to productize and you try to make everything efficient. Where some things are better off being inefficient. Do I want to be inefficient when I'm spending time with my dad? No, I don't.
you want it to be slow.
Yeah, I want it to be slow. I want to enjoy every moment. Do I want it to, when I'm, spending time with my nephew because I know he's going to grow up? No, I want that to be as slow as possible. I wish I could slow down time. So it's hard, because once you get in that mindset and to make everything so efficient, you try to do everything in your life. How quick can I get to this place? How quick can I leave? I want to get back in front of my computer so I can talk to my agent. I feel it. And I tell myself sometimes when I pray, when I, right now it's Ramadan. So I'm like, during Ramadan, I'm like this time of fasting, I'm like, I need to really sit down and think, is this the best thing for me?
Right.
Because and in reality, it's not. Because everything, speed running life is not a smart thing. You blink and you're 31. I mean, I'm about to be 31.
Dude, I know I'm so much younger, but I'm like, you say 2017, I was like, dude, that's ancient ago.
I graduated from here in 2014.
Like, bro, like
12 years ago.
I was a little kid. I was like,
Marissa used to babysit.
I'm going to college soon.
Yeah. I remember when Marissa used to babysit you guys. I think, to conclude the discussion about AI, because we talked about it a lot, and I'm glad we did, because it's honestly the most important subject that anybody should be talking about right now.
Agreed.
It's going to get very weird these next couple years, and people can agree with it, they can disagree with it, whatever.
Well, the people who are like I would say more anti, I don't like that word. Let's say like anti AI. Those people are like, dude, I just pray for them, bro, because they gotta learn.
I agree with them though. Listen, study your enemies, right? It's one of the best things. And Marcus Aurelius and all the best general. Marcus Aurelius wasn't a general, but like the best generals, he was a philosopher. But the best generals did study your enemy, right? And I wouldn't consider them an enemy, but the opposition. Study the opposition. Why are they so pissed? Unemployment's going up, right? Tech companies are laying people off. The economy's bad. We're at war. You go and look at the housing crisis. You can't afford anything.
Mhm.
Credit's at a all-time high. Companies, these massive, insurance companies, are making hand over fist with health insurance. It's just like you go and look at the world as it is. It's already so inefficient.
Mhm.
So AI is going to make it not more inefficient. It'll make it more efficient, but it'll make it more undistributed. So it's the companies are going to be the ones making more money, not the people working there.
Yeah.
So
Well,
as
that's
an
how it's always been.
well, yeah, but I think, I mean, I am a UBI guy.
Mhm.
I'm a capitalist, but I think you need some sort of UBI in the future because it's going to get to a point where, let's say I'm an account manager for a I don't know, automotive company, and I'm used to calling Ford and I'm used to calling GM and I'm selling them parts, right? A computer can do that better than me. It can. I'm basically calling and I'm selling and I'm moving stuff in a spreadsheet. Like, to think that AI can't do that better than you. Portfolio analysis. Like, do I have time to now analyze everybody's portfolio? No, I don't. Thank God that's only a small part of my job, but that's somebody's job. So if an AI can do it better than you, what's the point of you? So
Mhm.
I think it comes down again to purpose, and it's going to make humans think more and outside the box. And it's going to be a rough period. I don't know how long that period is. It could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 20 years. But that time of where AI is in disruption, of where it's like a snap of a finger, it just goes. And then there's no going back. It's like JP Morgan integrates it. Okay, JP Morgan integrates it. Hey, I'm Swiss, I'm Credit Suisse. I need to do it. I'm BlackRock. I got to do it. So once one person does it, everybody's going to do it because they don't
Correct.
want to be outcompeted. You see it in software as a service.
See, since you're wise and you're a tech, but give us something a little bit more tangible. What's one piece of advice you'd leave to a senior?
Try a bunch of stuff, man. And what you're going to try today is definitely not what you're going to do in the future. I think the cookie cutter definition of boxing yourself in, to a major, to a job, to all this is just it's totally against it. I might have a superpower because I have ADD and I can do a bunch of things, but not everybody has that. But I do think that putting yourself in a box is never smart. You're human. You're intelligent. God made us in an intelligent form. You're creative. Just don't ever let somebody else tell you what you can and can't do. And it's cookie cutter advice. It's fortune cookie wisdom. It is, but it's the truth. The nuanced wisdom is only pertains to certain subjects. Like, yeah, I could say, oh yeah, well, you need to start using AI tools. Well, what does that mean? What if you don't care about AI? What if you're an artist? What if you know your sports? Like, I'm not going to tell you what's best for you. You're going to know what's best for you. So
Mhm.
I'd say be careful about seeking advice, because I can give you advice, but I don't know, you know, the nuances of what you do on a daily basis. Because yeah, I could say, well, yeah, you should go to school and you should do that. And it's like, if it's not important to you, people have been successful not going to college.
Yeah.
Do the numbers speak for themselves? Absolutely not. But it can be done. Why not you? You know, I thought school was pointless. I sound like a pompous, person saying this, but I didn't need to go to school. School never taught me anything. I'm so glad I went to Michigan. It's one of the best things that ever happened to me. I obviously need to go to high school because I need to be disciplined because I was not. I think
Shout out Hancock.
thank you, Coach Hancock. Every day is like my father away from home. But I needed the discipline. But I mean, I always knew I had an interest outside. Like, school can teach you certain things you need at, let's say, base level,
Mhm.
but then you have to go out and seek knowledge. Because I think once you're done with college, like, I can't tell you what I learned in college. I learned about a lot of cool stuff. I was a general studies major, right? And I did a little bit in entrepreneurship, but now I'm in technology and now I'm in
Mhm.
finance. And I didn't go to Ross Business School, and I didn't go to Michigan's engineering school. I did this all on my own. So I had to teach myself because it interested me. If I were to sit in a classroom and some cookie cutter definition of what it meant to be a business guy or what it meant to be a computer science major, I wouldn't have learned anything because it wasn't interesting to me at the time. So if you're a senior in college, just be very careful about getting an echo chamber on what you have to do, because if something interests you, right, and it's something completely unrelated to a job, right? What is a job, right? Oh, I'm going to go work at McKinsey Consulting. I'm going to go work at Deloitte. Okay, great. Those people that I know are miserable. Yeah, they're making good money, but they're miserable. And time is ticking by every second of their life, and they're losing that time. So when you're in your 20s, you can make a million mistakes. You have no responsibilities, zero. I mean, you could have a family, but as long as you don't have a family, you can get back up. You can start at zero. You can blow up portfolio. I've seen it in crypto where guys have gone to net zero, $0 and 0 cents in their bank account and became millionaires. And outside of crypto, totally different, industry, biotech, AI. I've seen it, a guy do it in a plumbing business. He was a crypto guy and he started a plumbing business, millionaire, right? You you have so many opportunities as an entrepreneur now with the tools, the AI tools,
Mm-hmm.
that don't box yourself in. If you're a senior in high school, don't box yourself in. Enjoy the ride. Hang out with your friends. Don't take life too seriously. There's so many pieces of just small advice that I wish I would have told myself. Yes, I was a wrestler, so I had to take that seriously. But even I wish back then, I was like, you know what? Looking back at the career and what I had, it's like I wish I took it less serious because I was so worried about the end results, and it didn't end up mattering. Nobody gives a flying hoot that I wasn't an All-American. Nobody cares that I never won an Olympic gold medal. I mean, it was important to me at the time, but I go and look back at it, and it's like, you know what? It's not who I am. It's something I did. And it's something I did during that period of time. Just like crypto, just like, financial advising eventually will have an end. Who knows how long, but if it doesn't satiate me anymore, I'm not going to do it. AI could be that. It's just, I am a very big guy. I'm like, if it doesn't interest me anymore, why am I faking to myself that it interests me? Because if money is the end goal, I truly believe this, and I say this in the bottom of my heart, you can make money doing anything. You just have to find that market. So I've seen it in startups time and time again where people they laugh at people and they think it's a stupid idea, and all of a sudden this guy's just sold his company for $100 million. Yeah, it takes 10
You're
years.
crazy till you make it.
Well, it just takes 10 years. It's not
Yeah.
easy. AI has been in those hyper accelerated industries, but you think like, Alex Wang, who runs Scale AI, wasn't an entrepreneur 10 years ago. You're crazy. He was. He just nobody saw those 10 years that he was doing. And I think when you're in your 20s, and I just think everyone just tries to box himself in. And it's like, if you want to do that, go ahead. But I urge you that life rewards those who take risk. Life will pick you back up when you're down. You think that you don't have options. You always have options. As long as you stay alive, you're always in the game. Like, there are so many instances where I've seen where people have failed miserably and picked themselves back up. And agency is one of the highest. Like, you have to have agency. You can't not have agency. And you can't give up. So as long as you don't give up, show up every day. It doesn't matter what interest. Nick's a great example. People were laughing at him when he was making money off social media in high school. They thought it was the dumbest thing ever. Look at him now. He's doing super well, right? It took him a long time, but he found his niche. And it's crazy because you go and look at any field. Like, AI was a laughable field. People thought it was the dumbest thing ever. It's like, this isn't AI. All it is predicting the next word. Now it's the most disruptive technology in the world. So crypto is the same thing. Blockchain obviously needs to get its reputation back, but it's another one where it's like people laugh at you. They're like, this is stupid. It's just, there's no value. It's just coins on a computer. And now Bitcoin's at $80,000. It's like, how did we get there, from 2013 to now? I do think that, life rewards those who take risks. You have to have a high agency. Don't box yourself in. I think of the three things that I would say to any senior.
Thank you. Thank you, Malik, for joining me on this podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, my brother.